Virginia Nelson Rich is a champion. Not only is she a champion springboard diver and a pioneer in women's athletics, she is also a champion survivor. Having beaten a life-threatening disease, she also conquered life in the process. From a very young age, Virginia had a competitive spirit and would compete and win against those much older than she was.
So that's where I started, and that was with Farron Losey. And I was 12 years old. And whenever I would go to a meet, I always dived under the Weber colors, always Weber College, even though I was only 11, 12. All through that time, they would always say Virginia Nelson from Weber College. So then I started going with the team at Weber College and giving an exhibition to get experience. And so I used to travel with them at just 13, 14.
At age 15, she had already won the Intermountain AAU Diving Championships and had qualified to compete at the 1939 National Diving Competitions in Oakland, California.
I was very, very nervous. My father flew down for the great occasion, and I thought, oh, I have to win this. He has flown down here to see me do this. I have to do my best. So the first, as I said, the first few dives were not up to my quality, but from then on, they were the best that I could do. So I won that, and it was a very exciting time. It was fun to come home on the train and on the Streamliner, what was at that time, and have people meet you at the station and be all thrilled about you winning. And I was thrilled to think that I was the first woman from Utah to win a national championship.
Virginia's success had qualified her for the 1940 Olympic trials, but the games were canceled due to the Second World War. She attended Weber in 1941 and became active in campus activities, student government, and as a member of Otiaqua. She also joined Weber's diving team, which up until then had been dominated by men.
I was registered and going to school at Weber College, so I would travel with the team as a member of the team. So this was kind of a women's lib introduction without knowing it.
Virginia's example encouraged other women to join the team and thus strike an early blow for women's equality. She continued competing for Weber throughout her college years and distinguished herself as the first woman ever to compete against men in intercollegiate sports and win. She was also the first woman in the nation to earn a letter in a men's sport. While at Weber, she met George Q. Rich III, a handsome football player and athlete, and the two were married in February of 1943. They both graduated that same year, and George reported to the military and was deployed stateside as a training officer. Meanwhile, Virginia continued to pursue her education and earn her bachelor's from the University of Utah and a master's from the University of Colorado. After the war, George pursued his doctoral degree, and they both were involved in teaching swimming, diving, and life-saving to thousands of children throughout the country. In 1952, while pregnant with her second child, she became very sick one night and found it more and more difficult to walk. She called her physician. After a brief assessment, he gave her the bad news.
He said, well, I think you have polio. You have all the symptoms of polio. His paralysis was beginning to set in. So he wanted to get the ambulance there and take me to emergency. The county hospital is where they took polio victims at the time.
After several days in the hospital, a polio specialist spoke to George about Virginia's prognosis.
There was no therapy given at this time, and the doctor came in and he said, to my husband, he said, your wife will never be out of bed. She will be bedridden for the rest of her life. And so he came in and told me, and I said, do you believe that? And he said, no. And I said, I don't either. Let's go to work. We knew how the nerves worked and how they stimulated muscles, and we knew they had certain pathways that they went through to stimulate the muscle. My husband and I knew I had to get into the water in order to get the most benefit, because working on dry land is so much more difficult. And if you get in the water and do it, you've got the support of the water, and it helps so much. For any kind of a paralysis like this, water is the only answer.
After a remarkable recovery, Virginia taught at Berkeley and Taft High Schools in Southern California, teaching physical education, science, health, and also serving as a guidance counselor until she retired in 1983. She has received numerous awards for her contributions to the community and for her dedication to drug abuse prevention. She has been recognized by then-Governor Ronald Reagan, the California State Assembly, and the City of Los Angeles. But despite the accolades, that's not how she wants to be remembered.
I would like to be remembered as someone who knew no barriers. I would like to be remembered as never giving up, never quitting, always striving to do the best that I could do, not only for me, but for my community, for my family, for my nation.
Weber State University recognizes Virginia Nelson Rich and honors her as one of Weber's most distinguished alums.